Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, where we talk about all things blockchain and this new peer-to-peer creator economy that we are building out in the space. We're really excited for our episode 19 interview with Jigar, an amazing Metaverse builder and crypto Voxels creator. Before we get to that interview, I want to thank our sponsors for today's episode. First, we have Iskra, a Web3 gaming platform. We at Web3 Warriors know that gamers are not often compensated for the value that we bring to the community, as a creator community. And at Iskra, both players and developers are rewarded based on their participation as they experience next-gen Web3 games that are both enjoyable and sustainable. So you can play and earn. So sign up today to join their Discord and get early access at pioneer.iskra.world. And we have AI Waves webinars, which are hosting a Web3 webinar on Wednesday, June 8th at 3 p.m. UK time. AI Waves is a series of webinars that are focused on experts applying technology in business. And this episode is going to focus on Web3 in fintech and the banking industries. And participation is free. So all you have to do to register is click on the link in the podcast description. So thanks to our sponsors. I also want to thank Jigar for joining us today. It's really exciting to be able to really dive into the metaverse with someone who's really day-to-day building in the metaverse and creating really amazing spaces. So before we get to that interview with you, Jigar, I just want to talk a little bit about my thoughts on where the metaverse is right now and kind of where I see things going in Web3. It's kind of what pulled me in the first place. And it's really what's inspired this podcast, being an intersection of kind of gaming and the Web3/blockchain space and seeing the potential of real digital ownership that you actually own in a wallet that you have self-custody of, So when I look at the metaverse space, I kind of think right now there's almost like this big four players that I personally see, but I know there's way more of them out there that are building out different metaverse spaces. And I think it's really important to actually think about them as different corners of the metaverse instead of really like competing metaverses. They're actually just different corners of the digital space, So we have crypto voxels, or now recently rebranded to Voxels, right? Which is kind of a voxel based metaverse space that's very popular and very accessible. You can even join it on your phone, and then you got Decentraland, which is a little bit more cartoony, a little bit higher end graphics that you can jump into and also enjoy. It's kind of sandbox style. And then you also have the sandbox metaverse, which is still kind of slowly releasing itself and hasn't really fully been unveiled yet, but has a lot of popular support and a lot of big names like Snoop Dogg and others kind of involved and supporting the platform. And then one that I'm really interested in is Somnium Space, which is very much kind of focused on the VR side of things and definitely kind of higher end Unreal and kind of next level graphics that are really impressive, but you have to have a pretty high end computer just to be able to jump into Somnium Space and kind of enjoy it, right? Looking at these kind of big four players and looking at like the evolution of the metaverse, it seems like the balance is always going to be kind of accessibility on one hand, like how many people can actually enjoy the space and jump in and just make it really accessible so we can share NFTs and share art and just, anybody can join. On the other hand, you have immersion, which is like really wanting to escape into another world where you feel like you've jumped into a portal and you just like can have full immersion and experience the digital space in ways that are like brand new. So it's really exciting that these things are all kind of just unfolding as we go. And now we look at Web3 gaming in general as a broader field where you have play to earn, for example, like with Iskra, as we just mentioned, and many other platforms that are really focusing on like the utility in the gamer community and the idea that like your community brings so much revenue to your gaming platform. How can you compensate them and make it a kind of flywheel effect, where everybody wins. So it's exciting. And there's a lot of space, I think, for builders and creators like Jigar here, who is joining us from India and who has a really impressive resume of things that he's built in Crypto Voxels, and actually things he's built even IRL in real life prior to jumping into Web3 and the blockchain, which we can look at a little bit here. So Jigar, welcome to Web3 Warriors. Thanks for joining us. Maybe before we talk about your many metaverse projects you got going on, could you share a little bit about how you got into Web3 and maybe a little bit about what you were doing prior to joining the blockchain? And welcome.
Definitely. First of all, thank you so much, David. I am excited to be here on this talk with you and get a chance to talk about my journey over here. I finished college here in India back in 2007, and art and making things out of junk, making things of random things has always been my passion. And after 14 years working for like jobs that are white collar jobs in the world, in the real world, and even earning good, it always I always wasn't satisfied. It always made me feel like I this is not me. This is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And as I did that, I did take a lot of years, but I did realize that this I am going to have to work for the rest of my life, and if I have to, I might as well do something that I love. And other personal things that happened in my life, like a marriage that didn't work, that it really motivated me, that the amount of years that I've given to to have a to the idea of having a happy family and sacrificing what you want you to do yourself, it didn't make any sense at that point of time. And that is when I put my foot down and said that, dude, I have this passion that I want to be doing, so that I have been neglecting for so long. And that's how I got into making wearables in real life, or a 3D printing, to be more specific, which got me involved in 3D designing, and uh, gave me a new medium to show my art. And that is where this journey started of making wearables, actually.
Yeah, so it's
It's not
amazing.
the NFT space.
I just
Yeah.
want to pick up on that quickly because one of the things that really hooked me in was you talked about how you were making wearables in real life before you started making wearables in the metaverse. And I'm just sharing your Instagram here on our screen. I want to also welcome anybody in the Twitch chat. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. But yeah, this 3D stuff that you've built in the real world before you were even involved in blockchain is super, super impressive. How did you get to that ability? Like, what skill set did you need to even be able to just think like, I can actually make like very realistic looking, Marvel superhero costumes through 3D printing,
Yeah, it's funny that it has always been these moments in life where I know I was working, but every time I needed to get away, from the real world, I started myself. I didn't even go through it. I never had any art classes or any education in art, or any uh, education in designing 3D.
Wow.
So it was all, trying to find these little times in life where I didn't want to be in the world that I built for myself, and get like a bit of a hiding place for me to sit with myself and do things and learn new things. And that is how I got into designing 3D designing, just going through YouTube, trying to see what people are doing, trying to know what I want to do, and then see how it's. So it's always been my curiosity rather than someone telling me, uh, and it came so naturally. Uh, a lot of times in life, I had moments where I asked, why do I do things, but then I still did it just because it made me feel good. But then now when I look back, I know, as crazy as it sounds, every little bit that happened, that we noticed, or I noticed, or I didn't notice, it connected somehow to make me be where I am today. And it's crazy as it sounds, but when it happens, it does validate a lot of things that are not that are not thought to you, that cross your mind when it
So legitimately just
uh,
following your passions led you to create an Iron Man mask that literally looks like it was taken off the set of a Marvel studio. Like, that's impressive, man. Like, how many hours, they say you need 10,000 hours to become an expert, right? Like, how many hours do you think you put into studying and understanding how 3D printing and everything works to be able to build and make something look so, classy, like really amazing?
So I got into 3D printing, started making the ready designs that I had, and then my marriage thing that I just specified happened, and I just quit my job and got a 3D printer, started getting small commission jobs, and on the side when I had the little time, I did projects for myself, like the Iron Man suit. It took me 2 whole years to make, and in
Wow.
between I used to take business orders. So it was something that was very important in my life. Yes, I do get a lot of appreciation for the suit, but these 2 years really helped me grow, really helped me be patient. I knew I could always make things, but I used to get very impatient, and maybe that's that this journey that I wanted to be so perfect. This Iron Man suit, where I started off like the starting, it was. I told myself that no matter how long it takes, I'm going to make it perfect, and that is what the end result should be. And it took 2 years, and it taught me so much patience. It taught
That's
me
amazing. And so
how.
do you just use like
Yeah.
metallic spray paint to get that finish? So it's just like metallic spray paint on plastic.
So again, on plastic, if you want a metallic finish, first of all, 3D prints are not smooth or not like commercial.
Right.
It doesn't look like it's something I would put commercially. So there's a lot of elbow grease in that just to sand
Sanding
it,
it down
make
and
it look
everything, eh?
smooth.
No doubt.
And the kind of metallic look you want, you cannot just buy it in a metallic color and paint it. You need to first make it completely carbon black, then make
Well,
it totally. You have to pour a clear coat on that. Uh,
do you have
Between all
your
of this, you have to wait for
Yeah, I
weeks.
was gonna say, so people have to get to your Twitter. So your Twitter is at JIAGR9. It's a little bit complicated, but if they follow you through your Twitter, or you go to the thirddimension.io, you can check out your website there and get to your Instagram through there as well. But I wanted to ask, so
Yeah.
like that's meticulous detail that you're paying attention to on the actual IRL, 3D printing side. How did that kind of skill set transfer into the metaverse and into Web3? Because it seems I remember
Okay.
when you
So
first,
now,
yeah. How did it transfer? Sure.
so when I got into, again, the pandemic happened. Before the pandemic happened, my business was good. It had its up and down, but being positive, it always, whenever I had some problem, being positive, I always had something or the other, some business come up that saved my day there back then. But when pandemic happened, because most of my business were coming from international waters, the shipping was closed down, and my mom got very sick back in August, and I had to be with her 24/7. And because I couldn't work at that point of time, I only had my phone and my earphone, so I connected to Clubhouse and got jumped into a room which people were talking about NFTs. And because I was at a very critical situation in my life where I was looking for finances to get my mom treated, I was I just jumped in a room in Clubhouse, panicking, saying that I am in a desperate condition right now and I need money. And then there are people like Kofi and all these people from different parts of the world who held my hand, talked me to be patient and positive, and told me about this. Again, knowing about the wearables in the whole discussion, it was pretty obvious
Hmm.
that this is where everything that I did in the last so many years was connecting to. And it was very obvious at that point of time. Next 4 months, I'm in these rooms constantly asking people, because there are a lot of talks about moving towards the, but there's no one. At that point of time, there was no one
Right.
what the metaverse or what the platforms were. So the next 4 months, I am asking people from room to room, getting. I got into NFTs as well. So because the metaverse thing wasn't going and had a good success. Meanwhile, I was helping, being a good community member, being positive, the positivity that life showed me, trying to show that same positiveness to other people, because we meeting more and more artists, you get to know that every artist is struggling, and that little ray of hope or little ray of positivity can really change someone's perspective or the next day that they when they wake up. So I had taken it upon me to share this little things that I learned in life to be positive, and that helped me a lot with this a beginning phase of my Web3, where people did. like my art and get the NFTs, but then it was always the metaverse what I wanted to move ahead. And back in October in Halloween, right when Facebook announced Meta,
Mm-hmm.
uh, people, the community members in Clubhouse like Natalie, Mighty 99, and Fishbrain, all these people were having a 4 day long non-stop metaverse party uh, called the Metaverse Music Festival.
Metaverse Music
And that is,
Festival, yeah.
yes, that was one of the biggest and most successful metaverse party till date, I can guarantee. And that is where that was my first step into the metaverse. Next 2 days, I quit everything. I quit sleep and I researched everything, what softwares I use for crypto voxels, how can I mint them, everything. And started practicing without any night sleep or anything. In the next 2 days, I was ready with the Iron Man suit for myself as a wearable in the
Nice.
metaverse. And yeah, that was my first step in. And luckily in this festival came across Fishbrain, who has been a mentor to me to and he as soon as I talked to him and showed him what I could do and what I had been doing, he 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 actually paid me a little in ETH and said that you're not going anywhere, you're working with me. And that's where the journey began. As soon as that happened, in the next 2 days, one of the very big community drivers in Web3, like Low Sleazy, he had a parcel and he wanted to build something with that because
No doubt.
Uh, Bitcoin, I think it was Bitcoin or some convention was NFT convention was happening, and he wanted that, and everything started falling in place. The things I did. So Fishbin told that we have a week to finish this. He's going to take care of the build, and I'm going to do the voxels and the decor and the wearables, and everything was perfect. Even though we just met like 3 days back or 4 days back, our chemistry became so big that it was kind of evident uh, that there's something good happening over here.
No doubt.
We slowly come. Yeah, so it was a lot of, as crazy as it sounds, it was a lot of positive feelings that or signs that made us feel that okay, this is a good beginning.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And believe me, that's how I joined Control Builders, and that's the thing that happened in my life. That
Yeah,
was my
I was gonna ask, what kind of pulled you into crypto voxels more so, but I guess you just gave us that good history breakdown kind of. So it really comes down to community, so you had that amazing experience at the Metaverse Music Festival, which was a really awesome event that was put on, and they had a lot of people partying it up in crypto voxels. You meet Fishbrain, a few others, leaders in the space, but Fishbrain specifically on the development side, right? On the building side. He's a big builder as well, right? And so you guys connect, there's symmetry, and now you're just like building project after project. You got plugged in with Low Sleazy, showing his lot right now on the screen. So that's the blockchain gospel lot. It's really, really cool. So on the business side, you talked about at the beginning of the pandemic, you were in hard times, and one thing led to another, and now you understand kind of the business of metaverse building. So how has it helped you directly, financially? And how do you see kind of the business of the metaverse growing, maybe using your own, yourself as a case study?
As a case study, business. I mean, since the very first project, I think we've had we've got a lot of appreciation specifically for the first project for Low Sleazy. I be in Slow Sleazy's rooms in Clubhouse, and I see when people enter, as soon as they see like the van, the taco van or the island or the apes that are on top, you feel the smile that they have behind that screen.
No
You
doubt.
can really see. Yeah, and that's I think those little things, that which not just I felt, but a lot of people in these spaces feel is got us more and more business. So by the time we were done with Los Lisis parcel, we were already ready with the next project in hand, and it kept coming. And the fun part is that people from different genres, I mean, different trades, I would say, are come and they have a little bit idea of what they want to do, not a lot, but a lot of things is where we need to educate them because it's quite new. Uh,
Yeah.
what I
Well,
find is a lot of people have invested, but they really need that experience. And yeah, go ahead.
And
Please,
you yourself said
if you have
that,
an-
you took 4 months just for initial kind of onboarding, right? And then going back to that question of like, so I think everyone was impressed by what you had done in the 3D space, right? And the fact that you'd build out these amazing costumes. But did you yourself think it was easy enough to bring that into crypto voxels? Like, had you worked with voxels before, or did someone just kind of show you magic of voxels and you just understood it right away and were able to kind of take things to that next level?
No, I didn't know anything about voxels or what softwares I used. In fact, Fishbrain, before we talked before uh, the MBMF Metaverse Music Festival, he was knee deep busy with the MBMF, so he just listed out the bunch of softwares, and like I said, the next 2 night and days was just a roller coaster. When I just had this energy in me which said that, dude, this is where you need to be. This is
No doubt.
this is your place, and yeah, it's believe me, it's the feeling, it's the energy that that was just there because
He could
it
tell your
it
passion, right? He could tell your
yeah,
passion.
yeah, yeah. And believe me, this is what I did. Like I said, this is what I did in real life. And being in the metaverse, it just takes off. Like I said, the elbow grease for the sanding, the dirtying your hands for the painting. So I did everything that was needed before that, except for the software. There are different designing softwares for sure. But being in 3D space, it gives me, I already have that perspective. Like when you're a 2D artist, when you draw, the more you do it, you get a more better perspective of how that 2D from an angle is. But when you work into 3D, building that kind of a perspective when you're making something, and at the back of the mind, you know that from a different angle, it might look different. So, keeping all those perspective is the bigger challenge in 3D designing, which uh, fortunately I already had. And that is one of, I wouldn't lie, like those 2 days didn't teach me everything. I think the 7 years I dedicated uh, to 3D designing was is 80% of all that. And yeah, I think that really helped me a lot. That percept that sight of seeing things, or visualizing things in 3 dimensions, really helped me a lot
I could
in
see
getting
that
into.
definitely because like the way that your shading works and the builds are amazing. Like I'm just looking at these board apes that you built for Low, and yeah, hella impressive, man. And then the Metaglades Island you got going on there. So looking at another asset that you built there was like a stage, right? So you got the blockchain brunch stage here. Looking at like the potential for, like you say, music festivals and other events. Like, do you think that the music space has really like realized its potential at this point? And how do you see things growing? I know you mentioned doing a project for Emanate, which is a blockchain based Web3 based music streaming service. So how do you see things growing, just like in the music space and in the event space, kind of in the metaverse?
Things are things are pretty good. There have been a lot of music artists that have done live events. We had the Digital Army just a couple of weeks back do a successful 11-hour show event with 11 different artists, if I'm not wrong, DJ artists who performed over there. And man, it was an eye opener, because a lot of these people you see on Clubhouse every day, but then you don't hear them play music because it's not a music platform, right? So
Right.
you don't know behind that screen who is that person. But when they really performed, I think I saw a lot of hope. Again, I think the music artists are the first people who are actually getting on these metaverse platforms, and trying to make something out of it. We had, thanks to you, we had a meeting with Money B, and one of the projects that we did was with Digital Underground, which was the legendary band that introduced Tupac Shakur. Who could have thought that a person, this kid in India, sitting in India, growing up to listening to
No
Tupac
doubt.
Shakur would one day be building for Digital Underground. So yeah, that happened. And then Money B still to date make sure he sends me a message and asks me how I'm doing, and that really give,
That's
gives a
amazing,
different
man.
energy to me.
That's so
The
amazing.
Emanate build, the event for Emanate. Emanate is one of the Web3 music streaming platforms, community based, actual Web3, not just Web3. and they have their event today. I mean, tomorrow for me and today tonight for most of the people living in America and Canada.
Yeah.
So and they are also introducing a lot of artists. In fact, Death Mao, Katy Perry, these artists have already been a part of M&A, and I am excited because that means someday tying up with M&A, someday I get a chance to make wearables for these celebrities that I grew up listening to, and
Definitely.
it is happening. There is a big change. I mean, I don't know how to say it again. Uh,
Yeah.
and I've not always been good with words, but I see a lot of things happening in the music space.
Yeah, no, there's a big change. And I know some of it you see, like there's these concerts in Fortnite, for example, right? And you see some of these more gamer based, definitely not, Web3 metaverse spaces that have been kind of showing the power of the digital space and what can be done, right? Now, with Fortnite, obviously, you have a built in audience that you can kind of just push into this event. But in the Web3 space, because it is so decentralized, I think they're finding that it's a lot more difficult in some cases to throw successful events, and you can't just assume because you're popular in the real world that your event in the metaverse is actually going to be, exciting and fun and popular and well attended. How have you seen that like kind of play out in the space? Like you were saying about the Metaverse Music Festival in Crypto Voxels had amazing numbers, and you've seen some events in Decentraland that don't even come close to numbers like that, despite maybe having bigger budgets and fancier wearables. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Okay. Now, I've been in the 3D designing space for the last 7 years. We have the technology for these designs. We have the technology for these spaces, but to bring them all together, the internet bandwidth at the moment is nowhere close because the designs. If you're looking at designs that are high poly or high fidelity designs, they take a lot of space. They
Right.
have millions each and every design. Specific, even one person would be millions of polygons in terms of designs. Uh, at the same time, when you want to incorporate all of this in a metaverse, in from people from different parts of the world in one particular server, it's impossible at the moment. Now that is where I like crypto voxels. As far as the designing is concerned, the fidelity is concerned, they're voxels. Voxels are the binary, the ones and zeros of 3D design. So they take
Right.
10% of the space, and you can experience the metaverse before time. Because why is that needed? So that is why I say why I right now putting more effort or see uh more faith in crypto voxels, if the word's right, is because you can experience that, not not thinking about the fidelity, but thinking about the experience and spending time in these metaverse spaces. Because believe me, even if you wait another 5 years for the metaverse will come, you still need to spend some time there, experience the metaverse, and find your space
For sure.
or find what you want to do. So these platforms right now that do not provide. Plus, when you see wearables that I make, or I know a bunch of other artists that are doing beautiful wearable artists, they really cover up that gap of making things look good in voxels. You should check out the Emanate build, check out Money Beast, all the builds that I think
Right.
you've been
I'm
seeing from
showing the Emanate
many other
build.
builders.
Yeah, I'm showing the Emanate build now on our stream. It's definitely impressive. I like that satellite kind of rotating signal on the top. It's really cool above the pyramid there. But yeah, super immersive still, despite being, like you say, the ones and zeros of design.
So you can make it look good.
Mhm.
You can experience, you can have your time in these spaces and figure out your place, because everyone is would need this. This is where we are moving towards. Why not be ahead of the line, spend time here, find your way, find your path, or what you can do, or you can do to add to this metaverse, because it is being shaped.
Yeah.
It is being shaped right now, and you can be ahead of that. And and I think everyone should. I do come across a lot of people that say, "Oh, crypto voxel is very boxy," but I believe me, if that person would have entered the person would have entered Emanate today, or Los Lisis puzzle, or any of these puzzles. Believe me, I think they would spend more time over there, try to understand more. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of these first impressions might bring someone's interest down, but I would really say that it is an excellent platform. Plus, because it is the ones and zeros, because it takes 10% of space, I see the possibilities of experimentation and adding these features to make it, by the time the platforms that want to do high fidelity designs, these people would already be going through the R&D and the back and forth
Yeah.
of and so much ahead of that. And that is why, like my friend Kane Mayfield says, you water where you what was that again?
The
Do you
grass is
remember what he said?
greener. The grass is greener
Yeah,
where
the
you
grass
water
is,
it, right?
and that is why I want
Jigar is stealing
the
some
grass is
Kaneisms
actually
over here.
awesome. Yeah.
It's all good. Gave him credit. No, I appreciate that, and it's interesting and definitely true. I think that as we learn the metaverse and we actually try to find out more about what is actually evolving and building out in the space. And to your earlier point, I think all 3D building is still building, and it still helps your overall kind of design and aesthetic and getting to know things better. Now, a word from our sponsors. Iskra is a Web3 gaming platform that believes the future of gaming is on the blockchain. Iskra offers a premier destination for gamers and developers to explore the thrill and opportunity that Web3 gaming alongside a vibrant and diverse community can provide. Explore a platform using a blockchain built for gaming, next-gen Web3 games, and a community system that rewards both players and developers based on their participation. Sign up today at pioneer.iskra.world and join the Discord group to get early access to the future of gaming. AI waves applying AI in business. Can Web3 drive innovation throughout the financial industry? Why does it matter for the banking business? Which kinds of Web3 applications will be worth attention in the forthcoming months? To learn the answers based on the real-life experience of fintech experts, take part in the 5th edition of AI Waves webinar on Wednesday, June 8th at 3 p.m. UK time. Take part in the discussion and ask your questions to the top-notch fintech professionals, including Dr. Jane Thomason, Sophia Schluger, Sandra Mianda, and Christoph Kogukiewicz, discussing the opportunities of Web 3.0 in business. Click the link in the podcast description to register for free. What's up, Anita? Appreciate you dropping in. Said, do you see the metaverse in the future, especially in crypto voxels? Yeah, I mean, definitely that's why the Web3 Warriors podcast is focused on the metaverse narrative. But what do you think, Jigar, as far as the future of just humanity kind of blending more and more with the metaverse and crypto voxels specifically?
I see. I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of faith. Again, it's too early, so I like everyone else says, not a financial advice, but I do have my, like I said, this is where we are watering. This is the garden that we be watering, because it's helping us to know more. It even at this primitive stage of the metaverse, it has given us the idea of the metaverse even before the other platforms could pick up. You could do a lot more things than what the other platforms provide. You can build yourself. The best part is, with all these platforms with 3D designs, you would need that skill of making 3D designs. And believe me, 7 years of experience in 3D, it is quite a task. At the same time, it's much easier when anyone can just get into Magic Voxels, make their variables. Yes, it does take time to get to a level where it is it is like with premium, I would say, or like perfect, or like. But then
Well, there's different
anyone can
levels of
start
skill,
making.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can always get better, but it's inclusive. Anyone at any point of time, without a degree or an education or a formal education, can just
Yeah.
start off and be good at it. Yeah.
So Crypto Voxels is inclusive. It has a very easy to learn building mechanism. Basically, there's Magica Voxels is the main software that's used to build these out. And the way that they're built is block by block. So especially if you have any experience building with Minecraft or Roblox, essentially the same thing.
Or even Legos. or
Yeah.
even Legos.
Or Legos even, I guess. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So really it is just block by block kind of building out things. And one thing I think it takes more than anything, aside from a little bit of, or a lot of creativity, depending how far you want to go with it, is patience though. Patience and time. You do need to have some
Like
patience
anything
and
else.
some time on your hands. But Magic of
Like anything
Voxels
else.
is how you would learn that for sure. And that's a good tool for everybody out there to check out. Magic of Voxels, a lot of support for them. And like you say, it's inclusive, Jigar, and I like that angle. And that's why when I look at Crypto Voxels, I see a lot of potential, and they're continuing to improve their shading, right? And they're improving some of the graphics around it. They'll always be somewhat voxel based, but the voxels themselves can be smoothed. They can be improved a little bit, right? To be a little bit more engaging too and immersive. So I'm wondering, like, I'm looking at the Emanate spot, right? And it's beautiful. I especially love the pyramid vibes and the lights. Really well done. Awesome. So when you look at the lots around it, right? And these people either bought lots or maybe some of them haven't been purchased yet. What do you think about that side of the metaverse, right? When you're looking at the business of the metaverse, you've got these people who maybe are operating almost as land barons and really trying to basically flip parcels of metaverse land, but not necessarily building on it. Do you think that that is a detriment to the space, or do you think that it's just kind of a growing pains and eventually all of these lots are going to be filled out with kind of cool, relevant and engaging, content?
I think like it's all of them is needed, because we are at a point where the show has to go on. So
Yeah.
it's the show is like a mixture of a continuous motion, either in the shape of events or things happening in the metaverse, or in the shape of people buying and transacting in these with these metaverse parcels. So I think everything's equally important, uh, and yeah, everyone's playing their role, and like I said, I think I don't know, I am always very positive. Like
So
it's
it's
how
all
life
good
is
as long as
basically, and
people are
that's
investing
how
in
I
the
see it.
space, right?
Yeah.
Basically, as long as
As
you're
long as there's
spending money in
movement,
the
it's not dead.
metaverse.
Right? There's turning of effort and money inside, and as long as that happens, it's still there, or else it's dead, right? So yeah, that's something that's everything's much needed.
No doubt. So you'll be riding with Crypto Voxels for a while. Do you have any second favorite metaverse space? Is there anything you're kind of really looking forward to on the horizon in the space that you're
We
curious
are
about?
working on. We are also starting working on Decentraland and Sandbox. We are in talks with a project with a project on Sandbox as well, and we're doing wearables and yeah, building on Decentraland as well. So that is somewhere, but again, still from these experiences, CryptoVoxels is where you can the more it's where you can do more, just more than what you can in the other.
And why do you think that is? Like, I know you talked about, basically needing to be able to learn like Unity or Unreal Engine and things like that to be able to build on, Decentraland. Is that the main reason you think, or what, why is that?
No, because they didn't start off with the ones and zeros. They started off with high poly designs. I mean, not the highest possible, but they did start off very high. So that means that the more weight on the server, which we do not have apparently in the current world, the bandwidth of internet doesn't support it. That is why even if so, it's divided in multiple servers where even if two people are in the same parcel, the chances that they don't see each other, they might be on different servers. So that is where it's like I said, that is where the whole game is right now, being using as less of the bandwidth, which gives you more space for experimentation and movement for the people
No doubt.
visiting the
And what do
metaverse.
you say to those that are kind of building with a little bit more immersion and, maybe there is a bit more of that requirement for a better graphics card or better computer, but long term, right, their spaces might be a little bit more immersive and thereby more engaging. Like, do you think that for the long term build, that's a kind of valid argument? Like, there's
For
a
the
reason.
internet bandwidth,
Mm,
for the internet bandwidth, it's already been divided. You have 2G, 3G, 4G every year, so it gets a little better every year. So but at the same time, there are huge investments made to research and make these designs more less uh, take less space. If I'm making sense. So a lot of these investment you see, Nvidia, EA Sports, all these big companies are still pouring money in getting these designs to what the bandwidth right now is, or what the bandwidth that is going to be there in the next couple of years is. So that is where most of the investment is going right now. Where again, it's a challenge, but uh, Unreal Engine 5, which is the latest update for Unreal, just came out with some very good news that they've come out with very good designs taking like negligible space. I heard that. I still haven't got an opportunity to check it out.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but from what I hear, yeah, it. I don't know. It's very difficult to say how long it can take. But then I wouldn't be surprised if it does in the next
Yeah,
year.
like it's kind of it's happening, right? It's a slow process, but it's building out. And what about when you look at like the augmented reality and the virtual reality side of things? I think CryptoVoxels, does it support VR yet, or it's talked about supporting VR?
There is a way with it, but it's still they're working on
Not
making it
standard,
right
yeah. Like
now.
it's not like it's in the
Yeah.
Oculus or anything. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
but
got you.
you can log into Mozilla Firefox on your Oculus and you
Right,
can
that's what it
experience
is.
it.
Yeah.
It is still a bit glitchy to be very honest, but they are working on it for
That's
sure.
cool. That's cool. But when you look at like maybe OVR or even Super World, like these ones that are kind of doing an augmented reality layer, you know, over the real world, how do you see yourself kind of fitting into there as a 3D builder, as someone who builds these kind of digital assets? Like someone like right now, you have an amazing Iron Man costume over your shoulder, right? Now that's a real IRL 3D build, but you could have a digital asset right over your shoulder in AR, right? And people could see that through a filter. How do you see that space growing? And have you done any builds in AR yet?
Honestly, no, I do. I have been curious on how the AR is playing a role, and it does definitely have a role in the future of this Web3. But frankly speaking, I don't have much experience or haven't myself found uh, a perfect use for it.
No. But do you see a future where maybe businesses integrate augmented reality, or you know, is that a side of the metaverse that you're kind of interested in, or do you see that growth as well?
I'm definitely interested in because being into 3D designing, I think that when it happens, I'm going to be ready for it because that's like 3D designing is going to be the base for anything AR or VR.
No doubt.
So I am ready. I am constantly seeing what's happening. I mean, trying to see what's happening. Not much clear at the moment.
You gotta talk to
Uh,
Ebro. Ebro knows what's up on
I
the AR front, or Cyber Nerd Baby, who we've also had on the show. They're a really cool duo that's been building out some really cool projects in OVR and augmented reality. But it looks very similar, kind of, to what you're doing, except they use Unity and it's not the voxel based stuff. But you're familiar with Unity too, and I guess for the Decentraland build you're doing, is that with Unity?
No, for Decentraland, they have their own SDK,
Okay,
so we have to use that itself. Not much
interesting.
into Unity, but yeah, because I was into 3D printing, animation was something that I never had to do, and that is why I didn't pick up on that.
Hmm.
But yeah, again, I don't think that if now it's every metaverse platform is going to have their own SDK, is what I believe, uh, unless someone wants to have their own platform. I don't think that it's going to be much necessary unless you want to build your own metaverse, because most of these platforms are going to have their own SDKs which require Unity or Unreal, is what I believe. Again, I am not much into animation. At
Right.
the same time, I also know that yeah, even if they have their own SDKs or you need Unity or Real Engine, 3D designs are going to be are going to be the base of it. So
Yeah, that's just it, right?
yeah.
So it all comes back to building. Yeah, no, it's exciting, and I know, you know, we've got Low Sleazy, our friend, who's got some lots in the other side metaverse, and I'm curious about your thoughts on where you see the future of those kind of spaces that are very NFT culture focused, you know, a little bit more so, because I think that up until now, of course, these other spaces, Decentraland, Crypto Voxels, integrate NFTs in a variety of ways, especially Crypto Voxels are basically all based on NFTs, but it's less of the PFP and the visual side of it. You know, what do you think about other side being basically led by Bored Ape Yacht Club and kind of a club in and of itself almost from the get-go? You know, do you think that it's going to be at risk of being too exclusionary? Maybe they make up for that with like amazing graphics and an amazing actual video game that pulls you in. What do you think about that project specifically and the idea of this new kind of exclusive metaverses that might be popping up?
But like you mentioned in the beginning, like these are like corners of the metaverse,
Right.
and a huge amount of money is being poured into the interoperability. So, well, from what I see it, that all these corners are going to be integrated, or you could jump from one metaverse platform to another, and at a point of time. And as far as these PFP projects are coming, I see two things for sure. I see a better community where there's there's more the community grows stronger with these, because they'll be having platforms where they can be together and do things together in the metaverse, which brings people closer. The interactivity among people, and that makes a tighter community is what I see. And at the same time, I also see that these avatars or these PFP projects, there is a lot of scope of PFP projects that haven't uh, no doubt about the board apes or the other ones that
Yeah.
are already doing good. But it also it I see opportunities for a lot of other NPFE projects as well, which kind of there are a lot of it's not always rug pulls. There are a lot of NPFE projects that had a plan, but because after a time they didn't see much space in the metaverse right now,
Mhm.
went a bit silent or the prices dropped. But I see that a lot of projects can come back.
Yeah,
Those
and I guess
people who actually
if
wanted
they don't
to.
reach the mint level that they wanted to reach, right? Some of them don't sell out, and so they don't get the revenue they were hoping to get. So then they're not
Yeah,
able to fill out their roadmap. And then some people accuse them of rug pulls, but if you don't have the budget, you don't have the budget,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
So the
and
metaverse
I
might,
see a lot
yeah, sorry,
might bring them back. Yeah, the metaverse will bring them back. Because as more doors open in the metaverse, there are more options for these projects to come back and do what they wanted to do.
right. And I
Uh,
think you'll see,
yeah,
especially the ones that give the approval for derivatives, right? Derivative use. I'm looking at Metaglades here, where in the blockchain gospel spot, I know they've got some plans for derivative use in that project. And it's just really cool to think about, yeah, like maybe in the metaverse, some of these PFPs that have struggled a little bit can actually be revived by small communities that, latch onto them and say, hey, this is cool. We could bring it into this kind of storyline and then actually build a whole metaverse space around it. So yeah, I mean, it's those kind of cool ideas that we like to dive into here at the Web3 Warriors podcast, because you don't think about them until you're talking about them with people, So it's really exciting to think about what could happen in that space. And do you yourself have
so yeah,
a favorite PFP project at all at this point?
not actually. I've not been. I have not even I have been collecting. Luckily, I've had a good journey in the NFT space. I always want to give back, and I've been collecting, but it's been mostly not mostly. It's been all of one artist, or not the generative kinds, because being in a community, especially in Clubhouse, you get to know the community is mostly of artists that are not PFP projects or generative projects. So
Right.
being like a one of one artist, I try to push these artists, and yeah.
I love it. Yeah, we buy lots of art here. That's part of the mission as well of the podcast, is to support artists, and we have a good growing collection of one pieces. But we do also like a good PFP project that maybe has a social vision and has obviously amazing art as well, diversity, multiculturalism. There's a lot that can be done for the good in the space. And even when you look at something way up at the moon like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and the potential innovative kind of ideas that they've helped kind of seed even just the derivatives concept, right? Like it wasn't that popular before the Bored Apes really popularized it. I don't know if they were the first to do it, but I think the way that those derivatives have found success has definitely inspired a lot of other projects to say, hey, if you purchase one of our NFTs, you can get full commercial rights. Some projects even go so far as to publish or mint right into public domain, and they just say it's fair use, like Creative Commons, which is really cool. So I think that open, transparent collaboration is such a huge part of Web3, right? Like when you were talking about how when you first came into the space and you were in a tough place personally, it was the community that really pulled you in more than anything. It wasn't the technology. It wasn't the fact that other people were making all this money. You know, it wasn't the fact that Ethereum's going to go to the moon and it's going to be worth so much more down the road. You know, it was really just that community, right?
Yeah, a community. Believe me, I went through so many troubles. I had a lot of things happening in life. I lost faith in humanity. Being in these communities really gave me hope that there are people who are holding hands and trying to move ahead with the right ethics and the right morals. And and yeah, that is something I fell in love with, and I call them family now.
That's beautiful, man. That's amazing. Awesome. On that kind of point, I was thinking, you know, with this potential bear market that we are entering, you know, and the idea that crypto is ultimately the foundation of these spaces. Well, for example, with crypto voxels, it's built on Ethereum, right? And you can buy your spaces through Polygon Ethereum, but it's still built on Ethereum, right? So how do you think the kind of fluctuation, you know, of pricing impacts you as a builder specifically, right? And how do you kind of navigate that when trying to advocate for the space, right? Like you see the future in the space, you understand that, you know, it's not going anywhere. These digital metaverse spaces are only going to become more populated, and you want to be at the forefront building and creating cool things. But on the flip side, people look at these like cratering numbers and cratering value of crypto and maybe, you know, get scared out of the space. So how do you navigate that? And you know, is it impacting you directly?
So far, touch wood, it has not impacted me directly. I see it again in a way that these are the much needed crashes that remove the weeds out of what something good's happening over here. Those people who are just playing around for like a gold rush or a short investing or investment without understanding what Web3, what the ethos, what the blockchain is all about. I think these crashes are necessary to uh, put them away. I guess,
Shake them loose, eh?
or tell them that yeah, shake them loose, exactly. So that is how I see it. On the other side, there have been people who are positive and are looking into, have paid more attention in this crash in these times positively and bought into lands and these projects where they were waiting for the prices to go down, and they did. So again, when there's a crash, there is something that's going down, but at the same time, if you look a little farther, you would see it's people doing everything's going up as well. So it's a balance that's much needed uh, for like I said, shaking the tree up, dropping the yeah, yeah, like I said,
Maybe
shaking
the people who aren't
loose ends.
necessarily the true believers, right? Or that are just there for, like you say, that quick hype, trying to reach the top, trying to reach the moon and get that quick dollar. I think to your point, it's maybe a sale for others like us who are been looking at metaverse land and being like, maybe soon I'll be able to actually buy that plot I wanted to buy all this time. I want to thank
Also, the
H.
people who know what the blockchain. But sorry.
It's
For the
okay.
people who know what the blockchain is, who know how things work over here, are not worried. They are holding on to what they've invested in and growing. They're still growing at these rough times.
Most definitely, most definitely. I want to thank H. Kapalas for the follow, and he's got a good question for us, or a couple questions here in the chat. So regarding the metaverse, don't you think we are still in a speculating wave? And when you're looking at, he says in his opinion, we're still having to wait for VR kits to kind of fully be affordable and optimized for the general population. And I would just say that maybe there's VR metaverse, and then there's a metaverse like Crypto Voxels, which doesn't lean too much on VR, is more desktop based or laptop or even cell phone based in VR's or in Crypto Voxels perspective. But yeah, Jigar, what do you think about that as far as it being a pretty big speculative wave, maybe even a bubble, some might say, in the metaverse space, but then also just VR kits and other technology maybe needing to evolve to make it more immersive?
I don't look at it as A bubble, first thing, because the way things have been happening and the way the technology has been developing, people spend 80% of their time on a screen, either a computer or a mobile. So undoubtedly, when a population is spending 80%, the economy is going to be transferred into digital, because that's where the humans are. That's one thing. Second thing, more than speculation, this is the time where we shape the meta. We have the freedom, we have a piece of land, we have a virtual world where we can use to anything. So it's not more on speculating on the metaverse, it's more of being in there and shaping the metaverse and telling what you can, and knowing what you want to do with it, and showing the world what you can do. So more than speculation, I would say people should spend more time in it and shaping it, so
Most
I look
definitely.
into that.
Yeah, that's what we're with you, Jigar. That's why we wanted to have you on the show, because I know that's basically the ethos of our podcast at Web3 Warriors. It's really about the idea that this metaverse, this digital landscape, is not going anywhere, right? Like, we look at these plots in crypto voxels. Some are well populated, have full projects built out on them. Others don't have anything on them yet, even though they were probably sold to somebody. And in that case, some people are just speculating. And frankly, some people who are speculating are going to get burnt. Some people who are speculating maybe bought a crypto voxel plot at like 10 ETH or 15 ETH, and now they're 2 ETH, so that you can get burnt. And if that ETH is even worth far less than it was when you purchased it, right? So definitely there is a fair bit of speculation happening in the metaverse space for sure. And I don't know that I'd call it a bubble, but I do think that if you are in the market for the long haul and you're looking to maybe purchase some space and build out a real project, we're going to be coming into a time when that is a good time to do it because of that crash and because of maybe the speculation optics. I think there are people who think it's a bubble, people who think it's just kind of a phase, and that those people, to Jigar's point, will likely sell off or leave or just say, oh, that was a waste of time. And then that's when those like us who want to find a good deal and actually believe in the space and the building and the gamer side of things, and more so than the gamer side, maybe even the community side, because I'm meeting and finding out that a lot of people who are engaging the most with this metaverse space are not gamers, even though personally I'm like, where are the gamers? I thought the gamers would be the first people to kind of rush into this metaverse space, but it's really not the case. Definitely led by artists and creatives, musicians, as Jigar mentioned earlier. A lot of those type of creative people who maybe aren't really gamers or don't have the experience of spending time in the digital space as much as gamers do are fascinated by this. And I've been asking myself that question as I try to build out this community here with Web3 Warriors. And I wonder if it's just to the point of the graphics aren't good enough for the real gamers and they just think this is kind of lame, whereas other people who aren't as steeped in the games are like, oh, this is amazing, because they don't have like a frame of reference of like Grand Theft Auto, for example, which I won't lie, I came into the space like, where's my Grand Theft Auto metaverse? Like, I want to buy plots, and like be able to drive around in cop cars or whatever, but with the time, and I've definitely realized that it is much more about community than it is about like the technology and the high-end technology that we are working towards, but that's not in the near future, and I don't think that it's a requirement really for the metaverse to be engaging and accessible and fun and community-based. But that was a really great question, Kapalas. I want to thank you for that. That was amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's an important point. I think there's a lot of speculation in the space, but I would not say that it's a bubble. Awesome. I love that question. So on the question to that point, actually, I always ask near the end of the show, our guests, how have you been kind of dealing with some of the FUD, as we call it in this space, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, some of the criticisms about getting involved on the blockchain, and especially in times like this, maybe when we're about to head into a bear market. How do you convince other people, or what do you say to people who don't want to join the blockchain movement, who don't want to join the Web3 creator economy? How do you try to convince them, or at least tell them why you're doing it?
It's been quite a challenge, I would say, but how I see it is, uh, I have a belief that everyone in near now or tomorrow will be connected to the blockchain or the NFT or crypto in some or the other way, because that's where the economy is moving towards. So telling people the overall like a brief idea about it, or just making them know that you are in the blockchain right now is enough. Like not pushing them, or being just giving them a little idea so that they know that there's something happening over here and you're into it is enough right now. Because sooner or later, people are going to somehow or the other, going to be coming across this. I mean, this is good. They're going to come across this, and then they're going to remember. Okay, like okay, Jigar told me about this at one point of time. So I
Yeah.
would say, so that's what I do. I keep talking about it. I am not over compelling. I do not get into debates.
You wouldn't call
I just
yourself an
show them ideas.
evangelist?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I just
So if you don't want to come over here, that's your loss, man.
no. I wouldn't even do that. I would just tell
Yeah,
them that look, I'm here. I'm doing this. So whenever you feel you realize that it's time, let me know, and
for
I'll
sure.
try
I
my
love
best.
it. That's the patient approach. I endorse that. That's how I've been with my family members as well. My dad is by far the most inquisitive, which is kind of surprising, but it's been great. And I'm continuing to build, and they all have kind of an understanding of the technology at this point after I've rambled about it. But yeah, there are still others who are more critical and always asking the more biting questions, and maybe don't think it's a best use of my time, right? That's great, though. I hear you. So Capellas was following up saying that he doesn't actually think it's a bubble himself, but he's looking at things like the Axie Infinity market cap, for example, and the fact that they're evaluated over Ubisoft and Square Enix and other kind of gaming companies that have been in this space establishing themselves. And I agree that definitely has a lot to do with a bubble and speculation, I think. I'm not sure on the long-term viability of Axie Infinity. I'm not here to defend Axie specifically. Of all the Web3 gaming entities that exist out there, that is not one that I am a huge supporter of or even a fan of, really. But it is what it is, and I don't begrudge those who are doing it. I think it is cool that there are people able to make a living on it, but I also think that the dynamics of the way that it works and the fact that people in certain countries, specifically the Philippines, especially when it comes to Axie Infinity, are really grinding out and getting not that much compensation for the benefit of someone who owns an Axie on the other side of the world or something. So it's a little bit of a weird system, and it's not an ideal, I think, Web3 gaming ecosystem, in my opinion. So it's just one example. And it's also not really a metaverse per se. It's a gaming platform, and I think they do have a lot in crypto voxels, and they have lots in Decentraland. So those would be like their representation in the metaverse. But
Yeah.
Axie Infinity is kind of its own beast, but it's an important point, and I'm glad you brought that up. It's an interesting example for sure. Any closing thoughts on that, Jigar, or any other thoughts, comments on the topics today? I think you've really highlighted some really awesome opportunities for growth. Anybody listening and wanting to know about the metaverse and wanting to know, how do I get involved? We've mentioned Magica Voxels. We've mentioned Crypto Voxels. So you can go to cryptovoxels.com or just check out on the Twitter and get onboarded fairly easily. You can even join the metaverse on your phone. So it's a really accessible and inclusive metaverse space. So thank you, Jigar, for really running us through all that it offers. It's really cool.
Thank you so much. I wouldn't make it my very complicated. I would say these platforms are already started. Spend time in there. See what's happening. See what you can do. See what the possibilities are, and find your space in the market. The sooner the better. I think getting ahead in the race is always good. A lot of people, a lot of we didn't a lot of things in this generation right now were already done and dealt with that before we were born, and so there were less opportunities. And now you see a new world happening, new economy happening, and it's a good time to get in.
That's it.
So
It's exciting times, right? I love it.
yeah, yeah.
I'm with you. Kapalis had one final follow-up here. NTTs, are you meaning non-transferable tokens? I think Vitalik's calling them SBTs, soulbound tokens. Is that what you're referring to, Kapalis? Personally, I think that in I hear you. In small applications on kind of specific ecosystems, they can have use. And like you said, in gaming even, they could probably have some interesting use. I am not in favor of them at the government level. I think that Vitalik's got some interesting idealism happening when he looks at that topic of SBTs and the idea that governments should have that level of personal data on the blockchain. But anyway, it's a much bigger conversation. We could probably devote an entire podcast episode to that topic, and maybe we will at some point in the future if I can find a good expert to hash it out, and we'll take a closer look at soul-bound tokens or non-transferable tokens. But thanks, Kapelas. That's a really cool question. Stay tuned. Web3 Warriors every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next weekend, we're actually going to be talking to Rami and Sleiman from the Dream Conduit, talking about DAO construction, building a DAO, and their DAO specifically, our DAO, as I'm a part of as well, and help out with leading some of their conduit group. So really exciting. Next weekend, Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us for a cool conversation about DAOs. And before we leave, I just want to thank our sponsor. Don't forget, please, to register for the AI Waves webinar to learn all you need to know about Web3 in fintech and banking. And you can get to know the perspectives of experts based on their real-life business experience. So to learn more and about the event and register, please click the link in the podcast description and join the AI Waves webinar series. And also Iskra, the Web3 gaming platform. Gamers and developers will be able to be rewarded based on their participation as they experience next-gen Web3 games that are both enjoyable and sustainable. You can play and earn. Join their Discord at pioneer.iskra.world and start exploring the future of play. Looking forward to that. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. It's been awesome. Jigar, thank you so much. I think you've opened my eyes, so hopefully all of the listeners have learned a thing or two. I'm really excited about where you're going, and hopefully we'll be able to have you back again in the future when you got more projects being built out.
I would love that. Thank you so much, David. Thank you.
All right. Much love. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today in the comments, and really great engagement in the chat. I always love to see it. And until next time, we will catch you in the Metaverse. Peace out.